Buenos dias, guys. We haven't done this type of video in a long time, so I think it's just right to do it again. Let's rate a couple of decks and see what decks are on top, what are on the low, which deck should you expect when you go to big tournaments, and so that you know how to side and what to expect. So let's do this, okay? Before I start, I gotta say, man, it's just my opinion, okay? It's just from my experience how I played against those decks and yeah, it's you might not agree with me. You might do, you might not. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, we'll see. We'll see. All right. So I got only 23 decks right now. Obviously, I can't cover up every single one. Otherwise, the video is going to be way too big. But if you like it, if you want me to rate other decks, then let me know. All right. Let's start with you. So honestly, what we can do right here is put black wings up here and everything else you can put in here. Okay, if we're not being biased, okay, if we're not biased, then this is what we would do. Okay, but you know what? I'm not gonna be like this today, so I'm gonna take a little bit not unserious, okay? Because the serious version would be like being up here and everything else is down here. But all right, we're gonna do is we're gonna do it right, okay? So, all right. So let's start with branded. Branded is a deck. Um, it can lose sometimes against a simple imp. Sometimes, okay. Sometimes an ash is enough. Like there's a lot of things that can actually stop branded if you have used like it's hard, man. This deck, it's really good. Okay, it's really good when it comes to like when it can set up this board, when it can set up the gimmick puppet and all of that. Then most times it's GG. But first of all, it can brick. It can brick really hard. Second of all, like 1-2 hand chips is sometimes enough to stop him. And in a format where biscuits are being played heavily right now, I feel like biscuits are being played heavily. Uh, it's it's tough, okay? So it's obviously not an S tier. I want to do it somewhere between A and B, but I don't want to trigger too many people, so we're gonna say A, okay? We're gonna say it's A. Well, honestly, I want to put like it's hard, man. Okay, if I put it on B, I get cancelled. So let's put it on A. All right. Next up, what we got here is Dark World. Dark World is a deck. It's crazy. Like it's if it goes first and your opponent doesn't have draw or shifter, then usually it's automatically win. Okay, they're gonna take all your cards away, whatever. Like if they rely on going first, but going second is also not so bad because it can play through multiple interruptions and OTK really easy. So do not underestimate Dark World. I'm telling you, if you don't have the right side cards for this deck, it's gonna surprise you. Okay, so it's tough, man. If it has a good pilot, this deck can be like respectful B, man. Honestly, it can be respectful B. But like in a format where Shifter is being played by Kashtira, it's really hard to play with this deck, honestly. But yeah, we'll see. All right, next up we got the dinosaurs. The dinosaurs is also a strong deck going first. Um, the good thing about this deck is that it can give your opponent a token with a field spell, and if they can build like their whole full board, then even decks like Kashtira doesn't stand a chance anymore. So it's a really good deck. Do not underestimate this deck. Also, it loses really hard against something like Dark Ruler, but if you're playing Kashtira and you have that token on your side, then it can be a really pain in the ass. So let's put this also on B because it's actually pretty nice. Next up, what we got Dragon Link. Dragon Link is a deck, man. It can play through a lot of interruptions. Sometimes just imping the striker dragon is not enough. Like it has so many extenders. It can play through a lot of interruptions, and their engine is also like hand traps. And biscuits are actually really effective in this current format. So Drangling is something I want to put in A, but like in front, I actually want to put Drangling in front of Branded. I hope I don't get backflash for that, but for me, Drangling is a bigger threat than Branded, to be honest. Because hand traps alone is not enough against this deck. Against Branded and Ash sometimes is enough, and Imperm is even enough, but Drangling, ooh, this deck is insane. This deck can hurt you really a lot, man. Next up, we got Eldritch, man. As long as biscuits are being played, I'm sorry, man, but L just, you're not that guy, Paul. Trust me, you're not that guy. I'm sorry, man. Same thing with Exorcists, man. It's just. By the way, Exorcists is basically Kashtira, just like from Wish. I'm sorry to tell you the truth, but like, if you want to be competitive Exorcist player, then you play Kashtira. It's just the truth. I'm sorry. Okay, so yeah. Next up, we got Flunder. Flunder is something that I want to put also in the. I hate this deck, man. But for different reasons, man. People hate this deck because they lose against this deck. I hate this deck because I don't know. It just looks like cancer for me, man. And we never lose against this deck. It's a free win for us. But for some reason, like, I never play against this deck. It's crazy, man. I see a lot of people play it. I see a lot of matchups and whatsoever. But every time I attend tournaments, I never play against this deck. And it's basically a free win for me. And then I hear people, oh, shoot, I lost against Flunder. I lost against... Bro, you lost against Flunder? You lost against Flunder? They lost their barrier. They lost their statue. Their whatever, man. This deck, I don't know, man. It can play. The good thing about this deck is that it can play really good on the shifter. If it wouldn't be able to play good on the shifter, it wouldn't be that good. But then it wouldn't be like the deck that it is, right? So I want to put it on D. We're gonna put it on B, man. Okay. Nah, you know what? Fuck this deck, man. No one plays this deck anymore. Put it on C, man. Fuck those birds. Alright, next up, we got the Frightfur. And Frightfur is, you gotta play with Runic, man. If you play this with Runic and also a little bit Sprite Engine like Joshua did, this deck is actually insane, man. Do not underestimate this deck. It's actually pretty strong. And if it has a good pilot, it can play through multiple interruptions. And this deck, do not underestimate it, okay? Do not. Frightfur, Sprite, whatever with Runic is actually insane. Next up, we got Heroes, man. Heroes also a deck, man. If you underestimate Heroes because you feel like, oh, it's an anime, it's almost like Black Wings, man. Do not underestimate those anime decks because they got some power, man. If they go first, and they put out the Angel and whatsoever, like it can kick some ass. Okay, it can really kick some ass. So we're gonna put it here on B, because it also loses so hard against Shifter and. It's tough, man. If you can't do anything on the shifter, then it sucks. It honestly sucks. If you can't do shit on the shifter, it just sucks. There's not much then. But then if I go for that, if I go by that rule, then Drangling should also be maybe let down. But it's hard, man. It's really hard. Nah, we're gonna keep it like this. But Heroes, don't underestimate it. It's actually insane. Next up, Pearly. Pearly is also a really strong deck. Hey, you think this deck got nerfed? You really think this got nerfed? No, man, it's crazy. I played against this deck. The only 2 losses I had on my German nationals were against going second against deck. I'm not sure how good this deck. Some people say this deck should be played going second. But every time I play against this deck, it went first against me, and it built always Noir. Even sometimes through Droll, and Droll was supposed to hit this deck, like stop it, but no, it did not. So this Pearly deck is insane. Do not underestimate it. I want to put it on A because trust me, this deck is crazy. And once they got Summon Limit, if they play with Summon Limit, this is the best deck that can play on the Summon Limit. Okay, like people think Pearly got hit and all that, but trust me, like. If a lot of people would still play Pearly, you would see the shit topping. You would see the shit topping all over the place. It's insane how good this deck is. Next up, we got the punk decks, man. The goddamn punks. Great deck, man. If it can go first, and this is like that type of deck that can catch you off guard where you don't know exactly where to interrupt. It can happen. Obviously, you gotta hit the fusion monster with this deck. I forgot his name, but yeah, you gotta hit that fusion monster, and if you hit it, then they're already like weakened a lot. But this deck can also special summon a lot of monsters from their hand, like with pure engine. It could potentially play through a lot of interruptions, and then go end up on Psychic and Punisher, and then if they are able to go into Psychic and Punisher going second, they can easily OTK you. So do not underestimate this deck. Okay, do not. I want to put it on B, man. Honestly, I want to put it on B. It's actually pretty strong. Next up, we got the Sky Strikers, and now you probably all be like, we know exactly what you did to the Sky Striker player, but yeah, Sky Striker is a deck, man. This one depends on the pilot, because if the pilot build a solid deck, and there's different variations how you can play Sky Striker. I've seen a Sky Striker play a deck play with Runic like only 40 cards, pure spell cards, insane. But if your opponent has Eradicator, which is being played a lot nowadays, then you are screwed. But besides that, if they don't have Eradicator, then this deck, it can do a lot of stuff. Or anti-spell is also a thing. But it's really good. It's really good. But I'm not sure if I put it down here. Man, I can't put it up here, man. If I put it down here, then I'm gonna get roasted. It's good deck, man. It's good deck. It cannot OTK, which is really sad. Like, if you cannot OTK and give your opponent another chance, another turn, it's tough. Whoa, it's hard, man. And Biscuits can also hit this deck a lot. It's tough. It's definitely not 8. I want to say it's something like between B and C, man. It's hard. It's really hard. We're gonna put it on B, man. Alright. Next up, we got Vanquished. Vanquished is also a good deck. I mean, I never had issues playing against this deck, honestly. If I had an Imperm, I usually kept that Imperm for my turn. And then on my turn, I imped like the Link monster, I forgot his name. But if you can link it in the draw phase, then there's not much left that they usually can do. Or Dark Ruler, whatever. Like, fuck. But it has a good grind game. In general, you gotta be careful. All of those decks that have a good grind game can be really scary. I'm not sure, man. Like, I think not a single Vanquish deck has topped the. You know what? I don't know. I just don't think this deck is scary enough, man. Like, I understand the potential behind it. I really do, but if we summon a full arm mass in defense position, sometimes it's even enough. And of course, I can like look at every deck from a Blackwing perspective. But if so easy cards can out it. For example, if you put out a Noir against this deck, they just lose. There's nothing that this deck can do against a Noir, for example. Or like big towers, Dragoon, they just lose against Dragoon so easily. Like, I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but I just don't feel like this deck is it, man. I don't, like, if someday someone comes and beat my ass, like, then I would say, alright, man, maybe I was wrong. If someone can kick my ass with this deck, I'll be like, alright. But to this day, I've never been scared to play against Vanquished, man. And I'm sorry, I might get a lot of hate for it, but it's just my feeling. And yeah, this going to be like a really unique deck tier list. You've probably never saw a tier list like this before, but yeah, this is just kind of gaming, man. Next up, we got Manadium, and Manadium is also a deck, man. Insane. If it can go full board, it will not lose against a Dark Ruler because you're gonna have like the trap card set that can negate, and then their balls like Chaos Angel, Desparta, Baron de Fleur, and even more like this. And it also has like a good grind game. It can play a lot of hand traps. It looks awesome. That's all something I feel like is really important nowadays, man. If you play a deck that looks like shit, for example, the Pearly deck, then it's ultimately a D. Okay, but now we're not gonna be like this. But I feel like decks should also look fire, man. If they don't have like a good artwork, if you can relate with those artworks and whatever, then nah, I'm just playing. But Manadium is a great deck, really good deck. So we're gonna put it on A. And then, yeah, respectfully on A. Next up, what we got here is Sword. Sword Sword's unfortunate. I love Sword Sword, man. If Blackwing wasn't a thing, then I would probably try to put more effort in Sword Sword because I just love the art style. I like the effects. I like everything about those. But unfortunately, in this format, it's so easy to break them, and their grind game ain't that good. It's not that good. It's okay. It ain't that good. So once you break them, it's hard to recover. And their going first board is not like it's boom game. Never. Usually never people just surrender going second against this deck without hand traps. Look at their engine cards and be like, oh shit, I can't play through Sword Soul. Usually there's always ways to play around it. So I don't know. Let's put it on C. Next up, we got Plunder Patrol. Plunder Patrol, you can play with this with Runic. You can play pure Plunder, whatever. It's really cool. It's really cool. And it reminds me a lot of One Piece, which is why I want to put it higher than it is. But if we're being honest, man, it's fine. But it ain't that competitive, to be honest, man, is it? It's also easy to break the board. You don't necessarily need to play hand traps. It's enough if you can play board breakers. It's tough, man. I gotta put it on C. I gotta put it on C. I'm sorry. I just don't feel like I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate, man, for this list. Damn it. But yeah, you know what? I changed my mind about Dark World, man. Let's put Dark World also to C, because going second, this deck most of the time loses. It cannot play a lot of hand traps. It can play through a lot of interruptions. That is true, but ultimately, there's not enough resources to beat your opponent going second. So yeah, we're gonna put it on C. All right, next up, Rika. Rika, we gotta put it on. Yeah, 2A. This deck is insane. This deck is insane. It can play through a lot of interruptions. Board breakers are not gonna do that much because they also have like graveyard effects to negate and whatsoever. It's good. Like, it's actually nice. So we're gonna put it on A. Next up, we got Evil Twin Sprite. A couple of weeks ago, I would have put it on S. But now, after the German Open, I gotta put it on A, to be honest. Because it's good. It's good, okay. But the problem is, especially like if we go first against that deck, it's ultimately a win. Okay? Because they don't play any hand traps. I understand that they're playing their runic cards and all of that, but those runic cards also give your opponent ultimately another turn, because you cannot enter your bell phase, and sometimes this can backfire, because some decks that have a good grind game, this is like, I won a lot of games against Runic Evil Twin Sprite because they couldn't enter the bell phase, and I was like, you know what, he's not going to OTK me anyway, so why should I now try to play through interruptions if I can just try it next turn? So I just pass my turn and hope that next turn I'll draw something like Dark Ruler or whatever. And once you got the Dark Ruler out and you got like a couple engine cards that can play through the runics, it's cake, right? So it's non-S tier, definitely non-S tier. I'm gonna keep it like this. Honestly, I feel like there are some runic Evil Twin Sprite decks that have topped, but they only topped because a lot of players are playing it. If not a lot of players would have been playing this deck, it wouldn't top any nationals. I feel like, but a lot of people have played this deck. That's why. Otherwise, it would be like a B, in my opinion. In my opinion, you guys probably gonna hate me for this, but you know what? Fuck it, man. We're just gonna do it, man. Put it on B. Fuck this deck. What I believe though is better is the pure Sprite with Melfi's. Melfi's Sprite is in my opinion is better than this. I had more issues against this than against this. Because it can OTK so easily, man. Like, if you can't do anything going second, they're gonna OTK you, man. They're gonna OTK you, or if this deck goes second, this deck going second is also really strong. Like, it doesn't even have to need to have hand traps. Sometimes if it just only has pure engine, they can do a lot of damage, man. They can do a lot of damage. They can potentially even go into Zeus without doing the normal summon, wipe everything down, and then start with Beaver. And then go full combo. So, in my opinion, the Sprite Melfi is better. Oh, don't forget about Ibli. They got Ibli, man. Ibli can be a son of a bitch. If you don't play the Linguribu, or if you do have Linguribu but you're playing the Kashtiras, then it's also shit. Because, yeah, it's hard, man. It's just my opinion. I feel like this is better than this. Okay. Might get roasted for it. It's fine. I'll take it. Here on CanetGaming.com, we're just speaking facts, man. We're not brainwashed. Okay. So, yeah. Next up, we got Tierlist. Tierlist is also a deck. A good pilot can do a lot of crazy stuff with this deck. It doesn't play a lot of hand chess, but can play through multiple interruptions. And I saw this deck beat the shit out people's ass. Beat the shit out of people. I want to put it like on B, but in a format where Dark Wheeler is, I mean, it does not really lose against Dark Wheeler. If it goes full combo, it's gonna have like Sulik and all of that. And with Sulik and with the field spell and those Ishizu cards in the graveyard, they can still do a lot of damage. Stuff. Like, I feel like this Kashtira can beat everything else here on C. So that's why I'm going to put it on B. Sorry, the elements. So yeah, okay. Next up, we got the 3 best decks, man. Okay. Labyrinth ultimately is, before I even entered the Nationals, Labyrinth was one of the decks that I was scared the most. If this deck wins a dice roll and the opponent is actually a good pilot, there's not much that I can do. And now with Dinkabui playing also Super Poly and Ghost Match, honestly, we don't care about Ghost Match. We love to see Ghost Match, but Dinkabui playing Super Poly, ooh, this might give some people wrong ideas, man. Super Poly in main deck, shit, can hurt us a lot. Yeah, by the way, the punk is also like with Gold Pride in whatsoever. Okay, it's not only pure punk, it can also be played with Gold Pride. But yeah, it's hard. And yeah, so it's crazy. You guys saw what happened German Nationals. This deck with Eradicator. Crazy stuff. Last but not least, no, we're not finished yet. We got here Kashtira. And Kashtira, the only reason this deck is good is because of Shifter, honestly, man. If they didn't have Shifter, in my opinion, it's not good. Only because of Shifter. I only lose against this deck if they draw a Shifter, honestly. And even then, on the Shifter, sometimes I win. Sometimes. Not all the times, but sometimes. But all the other decks, probably, they're going to lose against Kashtira on the Shifter. But, yeah, it's... I don't want to put it on S, man. I really do not. But it was at the finals in German Nationals, and a lot of people are playing this deck. Fuck it, man. I'm not going to do it. We're going to put it on A. Because I win more against this deck than, for example, like Broly, whatever. I'll put it here respectfully on A. Only like it's hard, man, because cash and Shifter is like bread and butter. And then it would be ultimately S. Once they draw Shifter, it's S. Without Shifter, it's just A, B. Without Shifter, it would be B, actually. Shit. It's hard. The reason also why Labyrinth is like S tier is because there's not many outs against this deck. Red Reboot is banned, forbidden. Harpy Feather doesn't always do enough. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. If they play heavenly, it doesn't do anything, and it's hard, man. They don't always lose against Harpy Feather Duster. And then this is hard, man. Labyrinth is one deck that I really respect a lot. It's hard. Alright, next up we got the best deck. The best deck in this format. First of all, man, listen, there's not a lot of decks where you can say, if I go first, I ultimately win. With Black Wings, we can say this. We can say this. We can say this. Any other deck, if they go full Rumble combo, it is possible to break their boards. It is. If you give me the best Blackwing engine hand with no interruptions, with nothing else, obviously we lose against a gimmick puppet. Okay, but if we are not locked from our extra deck, we can beat almost every deck here. With a pure Blackwing engine hand, I can run through Kashira. I can run through Labyrinth. I can run through, maybe not Labyrinth, man. That's a cap. That's a cap. Because if they got the right back row, it's over. Fuck it, man. Blackwing best deck. Blackwing best deck. It's so easy, man. Blackwing best deck. Blackwing is just a bad. If you go first, we win. Okay. Win the dice roll of Blackwings and you win the championship. Fuck, bye.